How's it going, everybody? Let's go over yesterday's college football week 2 scores. Rough day for the Big 12, and pretty much a rough day for me against the spread. Another tough weekend. Last weekend was pretty bad, and yesterday was not any better. So we're going to go over the games I picked against the spread and also look back at some other games as well. So let's take a look and see what happened yesterday in week 2 of college football. Alright, so first off, let's get started with Notre Dame's first game in the ACC as they took on Duke in a nasty rainy day yesterday. And they'd pull away in the fourth quarter, outscoring Duke 10-0. And they rode the legs of sophomore running back Kyron Williams, who made his first career start for the Irish yesterday. And he had a real big day. Had 112 yards rushing on 19 carries and 2 touchdowns. He also led the Irish in receiving as he would have, 93 yards on 2 catches. Ian Book, he had a solid game. I mean, considering how rainy and nasty it was, just a nasty day. Excuse me. Just a nasty day up there in South Bend. But still, he had a solid game. Nothing special. But, just a solid over 200 yards passing. Solid day for him. But like I said, Williams really carried the day, running the ball with the 2 touchdowns. And it was plenty. The Clemson transfer, quarterback Chase Bryce for Duke, he was solid. He definitely kept Duke in the game as he passed for 259 yards. He was 20 for 37. But Duke did not have a run game. They could not sustain on that tough Notre Dame rush defense. And the Irish were able to get the win. 27-13. The Irish would not cover the 20-point spread, but they do get the double-digit win at home in their first game as a temporary ACC member. Now, there were 3 big upsets yesterday. 2 of them came in the Big 12 and 1 in the ACC, but the first one in the Big 12 was Arkansas State knocking off Kansas State at home. And it was a real tough one for Kansas State. They really looked like, last year after Bill Snyder had retired, really looked like they were starting to get some momentum back into the program with Skylar Thompson coming back this year. And then to start the season off like this is really tough. And you really hate to see it. Losing a tough game like this, 35-31 to Arkansas State, in a game that went back and forth, and they definitely had their opportunities to win the game. I mean, they had a 21-7 lead in the second quarter, and they had a 31-28 lead all the way down to 38 seconds left in the game before giving up a 17-yard touchdown pass. And that's how the game would end. But hats off to Arkansas State. They made Kansas State one-dimensional. They made them, Kansas State beat them through the air, and Kansas State couldn't. They held Kansas State to 91 yards rushing, and Kansas State's a team that's got to be balanced, and they just weren't. Like I said, they held Kansas State to only 91 yards on the ground, and Kansas State's not going to win a lot of games like that. But once again, just hats off to the Red Wolves. I mean, bouncing back after losing to Memphis last week, they were getting blown out, and they fought back to make the game more respectable. And then this week, down 21-7 to fight back, cut it to 3 points, get the ball back with a chance to tie it or take the lead. Then their backup quarterback comes in, Lane Hatcher comes in and hits Jonathan Adams Jr. for his 3rd touchdown of the day, a career high for him. and they steal the win in Manhattan, Kansas. Excuse me. So hats off to Arkansas State, and really, this is not just a huge win for them, but it's also a huge win for Memphis. And if they're going to have any hopes to sneak in to the college football playoff, should the Big Ten decide not to restart their season, or actually start their season, however you choose to look at that situation. So this win could be huge for the Memphis Tigers as well as the Red Wolves. But congratulations to Arkansas State getting the upset win in Manhattan, Kansas, 35-31 over the Wildcats. All right, and also in the ACC, we'd have Clemson and Wake Forest, as Clemson kicked off their bid for a sixth straight ACC championship and trying to make a sixth straight college football playoff berth, and it got off to a great start. Pretty much had Wake Forest on the ropes from the get-go. Trevor Lawrence looked fantastic. Just another routine day from him. He was 22 for 28, 351 yards, one touchdown through the air, two touchdowns on the ground. So truly showing why he's one of the favorites to win the Heisman. And, I don't think anybody expected a close game out of this one. Although Clemson wouldn't cover the 32.5-point spread, they were up 37-3 going into the fourth quarter, and they would give up 10 points to make the final score 37-13. It's like I said, unless you bet on the game, it really didn't matter. Clemson dominated from start to finish, and the game wasn't even as close as the 37-13 final score. So Clemson gets their 2020 season off to a great start in dominating fashion as they dominate the Demon Deacons 37-13. And that's how they get their 2020 season underway. And just to give you some other finals from yesterday, some other major games. This isn't every game that went on yesterday, but just some other major ones. North Carolina would beat Syracuse 31-6. Army would win 37-7. Oklahoma beat Missouri State 48-0. Texas would beat UTEP 59-3. And South Florida would beat the Citadel 27-6. So that's just a few scores. And now let's get to Georgia Tech and Florida State. The Ramblin' Wreck going down to Tallahassee and pulling off a major upset. And really spoiling what was supposed to be Mike Norvell's first game as the Florida State head coach. Supposed to be his big, opening game, and they end up running it for him. And hats off to the Ramblin' Wreck. They went in there and they pulled off the upset. And that's Georgia Tech's first road conference win, or their first conference win on the road to start the season since 1996. It was led by true freshman quarterback Jeff Sims, who was a Florida State commit until until Mike Norvell was hired after Willie Taggart was fired last year. It's funny how life works out like that sometimes. He did have 2 picks, but he also passed for 277 yards and a touchdown to help the Ramblin' Wreck. He would also lead them in rushing with 64 yards rushing against the Seminoles, as Georgia Tech had to overcome a 10-0 halftime deficit to stun the Seminoles 16-13. Florida State got all their points on their first 2 drives, a touchdown and a field goal. Justin Blackman started off looking good, but he would end up finishing the day 23 for 43, 198 yards, and was shut down after those first 2 drives. You really hate it for him. He's really struggled after 2017. He's just never really been able to get his footing as the FSU quarterback. So hopefully Mike Norvell can get it going, and maybe Blackman can get his feet going, and Florida State can tongue-tied, bounce back from this and salvage somewhat of a good season. It's early on. Yes, it's a gut-wrenching loss, but teams have suffered worse. So it's a tough way to start the year, tough way to start a new era for Florida State. But hey, it's one game. They've got 9-10 games left. Go out there, you got to move past it. So, and how about for Jeff Johns and Georgia Tech? Great way to start the year for them. Going down to Tallahassee, pulling the upset when nobody expected them to. They were practically a 2-touchdown underdog. So hats off to the Ramblin' Wreck, and huge upset win for them. And it's college football, baby. It's what we love about it. And now on to the really biggest shocker of the week. And so our last one, how about the Raging Cajuns from Louisiana going to Iowa State and knocking off Matt Campbell and the Iowa State Cyclones 31-14. Only their second win ever against a top 25 team, and their first ever win on the road. Hats off to them. Really did not see this one coming. I don't think anybody else in the country did either. Brock Purdy, Iowa State's quarterback, did not look like himself. He really struggled out there. The whole Iowa State offense did not look like themselves in the second half. This is one of the Big 12's best offenses from last year, they had a pretty good bit returning off last year's team. A lot of people, including myself, believe they were one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the Big 12 who could possibly contend for a spot in the Big 12 championship. And not to say they still can't, because this doesn't count as a Big 12 loss, and we've seen teams get upset by non-conference teams like this before and still win a conference. But it's just really shocking with everything going on with COVID in 2020. I guess nothing should be shocking as far as this season goes. But pretty much the gist. Iowa State had a 14-10 lead at halftime. They come in. Then let's see here. Levi Lewis would hit Peter LeBlanc for a 78-yard touchdown pass. And then that would get them the 17-14 lead. And then they would get another touchdown to go up 24-14. And then they would get a 83-yard punt return to ice the game. And that's where you got it. 31-14. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns would go on to upset the Iowa State Cyclones 31-14. And that's our biggest shocker of week 2 in college football. But that's what we love about it. That's why it's the best sport, hands down. There's no pro sport that can touch it. Sometimes college basketball comes close in the NCAA tournament and stuff, but not really. There's nothing better than college football, in my personal opinion, and just can't wait for the SEC to get going, and who knows, maybe we'll even get the Big Ten back. So either way, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I appreciate you joining us, and y'all take care, and God bless you, God bless your family, God bless this great country. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.